Hi there, and welcome to this episode of The Delight of Photography. Thank you for joining us, and if you're new to The Delight of Photography, please click on subscribe, bottom right hand corner, because that'll take you through to the playlist, and you can have a look at all the episodes that we've brought to us so far. It's quite a good idea to start at the beginning, but you can join in at any stage and just enjoy learning a bit more about your photography. And for those of you who've been with us for some time, thank you very much for rejoining us. I hope you are enjoying it. And the advantage, as always with YouTube, is you can always go back and listen to them again and again, should you so wish. Remember, it's really a good idea to go and play with your camera and to practice what you're doing and to have a look at your instruction book and make sure you just understand what you're wanting to do. Because you just need to learn about your camera and do the type of pictures, take the type of pictures that you enjoy. So today we're going to continue talking about crucial variables, but we're going to talk about raw files a bit more, and also light meters and how your light meters work. So always to think, take the picture. Even if you think this is not going to work, it's going to be too noisy, it's going to be terrible, take the picture, because you never know, because you take this picture, it looks very gloomy, but really it could be a very, very attractive picture. Just remember that you can change, you can work on your images quite easily, and we will talk more about enhancement as we go along. But the key point is you can take images, you can make them look so much better, and you can take away a lot of the noise if that's what you want to do. But if your camera is modern, it'll probably handle ISO very well indeed. For example, this is 6400 ISO, which is pretty high ISO, because I like to take boats down at the harbor and I like to do low light. That makes it complicated because boats move, and low light, which means longer exposures, mean that boats get blurred. So you have to shoot in high ISO. So this was done in high ISO, and I used some software to remove some of the noise, and I like the image. So it's become one of my favorite images. I've actually got it printed in A3 plus size, which I show to people on my live course. So I think we touched on it on the last episode, but you need to understand how your camera handles ISO. Not theoretically, but your camera. So what you need to do is to, in a darkish room, darkish view, sit down with your camera, put it on a tripod or on a brick or something, and then take a series of pictures changing the ISO. 100, 200, etc. and go up as high as you want to go, because it's your choice. And then you download those onto your computer, and you can have a look at them then, and you can see at what ISO speed level your camera starts to get maybe too noisy, or you will start to understand your camera. Because the majority of people don't know or don't understand their cameras and ISO. They know if they increase the ISO, it'll make it brighter, so that's great. They have no real idea of how much noise it's going to generate. Do the exercise, it's very interesting. Then you will know, for example, that you can shoot at 800 ISO and your camera can handle it. Don't worry about theory. Take the pictures with your camera, because that's all you're interested in, is what your camera does with ISO. So do the exercise, and that will help you significantly in terms of capturing difficult pictures where the light is maybe getting a bit dark. Because you want to be able to take images like this without worrying too much. Auto ISO is quite good normally, but personally, I like to know what my ISO is. So I like to be able to change the ISO myself, so you can go into your camera settings, easy to do, and just change the ISO to manually set. So then you can control the ISO. If you want to, and depending on your camera, you can put stipulations into your camera that says you can be on auto ISO up to 800 ISO, and then you must stop. But read your instruction manual if you want to play around with that. Otherwise, just stay with manual, and having done the exercise, you know what kind of noise you may or may not get with your ISO. Practice the ISO. Let's just talk a bit more about raw files. People talk raw files, JPEG files. The majority of images on everybody's camera is done with JPEG. JPEG stands for the Joint Photographic Experts Group, and it will enhance your picture in camera. It sorts out the light, it sorts out all sorts of things, because a technician back at the factory has said the ideal picture in this camera should be X, and your camera will set your image to X. You may not like it, but in the main JPEGs look quite nice. So bear in mind that a JPEG has been enhanced already without you doing anything. You can still enhance JPEGs. And remember, when you're enhancing, what you're doing is you're just digging out the information that is in the file. You're not adding anything, you're digging out the information. RAW works much better because the raw file hasn't been processed at all and it's got all the data. It's 4 times as big as the JPEG file, but you can do wonderful things with RAW. For example, you messed up the lighting. Using RAW, there it is. The data is there. You've just got to suck it out, as it were. And for example, in here, nice. You can make it look so much better because you can play around with the raw file. All the data is captured. All the data is there, so you can then make sure that you use whatever you've got. And it's fascinating because you can take this picture of Winston Churchill's statue. Behind Big Ben, all the clouds are blown out, they're gone. You can't even see them because you've overexposed. Now, if you had shot this in RAW, you can now dig out that data, and the clouds are there. They're on the file, you just had to find them. So by using RAW, it means you can help offset any errors you might make. But it's part of photography, really, with your post-processing in terms of how you get detail out of your images. Personally, I shoot in both all the time. I shoot JPEG and RAW at the same time. And then I don't bother to look at the RAW files. I just look at JPEG. And when I see something that I really like, I will then open the RAW file so that I can make it look really, really good and make it look the way I thought it should look. Because you can take this inside of a church. Because it's dark, there's no data. There it is. I mean, there's so much detail available that when you do things like that, you can dig it out. And the big advantage too, because we will talk about white balance later on. With white balance, you change the type of light the camera thinks it's taking pictures in, so it will change the color of the image. With JPEG, you can't change it. Once you've taken the image, that's it. But if you're shooting with RAW, you can then change the white balance afterwards. And you can flick through all the different white balances on your computer and decide which you like best, whether it be cloudy or dark or daylight, whatever. It has an amazing effect. And it's a very useful attribute to have when you're shooting in RAW. Remember, RAW is worth playing around with because you can do lots of things. But also remember, in the main, RAW files don't look exciting when they come straight off your camera, unless your camera is doing some built-in processing. RAW files need to be worked on to give you the full benefit. Because you want to be able to shoot black and white as well. You don't need to shoot in black and white. You can use your RAW files, and then you can, with software, you can take the color out gently and convert it into a black and white image. And you will find black and white photography is a whole different genre of photography that's really, really fun to work with. Remember black and white photography. And the light meter takes this all into account. And it measures the light in 3 or sometimes 2 different ways. Matrix, center weighted spot. Matrix or evaluative is where you normally have your line meter. Center weighted means you bring it into the middle, it just measures the center part. Or spot, it just measures a spot. That's all it measures, a mid spot. And the gray card, we'll talk about that. So if you have a look at the bottom here, evaluative center weighted spot, what it does. And why should you change it? what your camera is trying to do is trying to convert everything to 18% gray in terms of a tone. And that's what the gray card is all about. Because if you have a look at the different grays, 18% or middle gray is where your light meter thinks your picture should be. So you need to understand that, because if you look at this, we're also talking spot. Many people don't ever use spot. You can set your camera to spot, and if you put the spot on the propeller boss here, you'll get that. Propeller is perfectly exposed, the rest is blown out. And this can be used creatively. That's what the camera thinks. You change the spot and you can get it to look like that. Change, and here, because you use spot on the Sphinx's head, you can see it. Because what your camera would have tried to do would be to blend the Sphinx's head back into the pyramid, because it's trying to convert everything to 18% gray. But by using spot on the Sphinx face, you can get it to stand up. Spot on the seagull gets it to stand out. Otherwise, this picture would have tended to be more gray in tone. And if you have a look, just subtle changes. Watch this because you're using spot, it just gets more color and just looks brighter. Think about using spot. This is a standard picture. It's backlit so you can't see the flowers. If you use spot, you can put it on the flowers and you can see them. So whenever you've got strong backlighting, spot will help you get the right light on the picture that you're taking, and you can go all out and do flash if you like. But spot creatively can work extremely well. Think about playing around with spot. What Matrix does, it measures all over your picture, and it's got a fancy algorithm in the camera that will combine them to tell you the correct exposure. And that's great. It works really well most of the time. But use spot and play around with spot, because creatively it can be fantastic. Small cameras do spot. All sorts of cameras do spot. Think about it. Above all, it's that you should be enjoying your photography and playing with your camera and enjoying it. So next time we're going to talk about depth of field and priority modes. But thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to click on subscribe to take you to the playlist so you can have a look at all the different broadcasts we've had so far. Thanks very much for joining us. I'd like to talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.